Yo. Oh, wait,
Konnichiwa!
Yo, get in.
Onome wa pizza dude man guy desu. That's probably pretty rough. Nani? Nani?
Pantsu!
Eh?
My friends and I, we, oh shit, there's too many assholes on here. There's a Big Daddy, too.
I was gonna suggest you hypnotize it, then I remember, oh yeah, you don't have that kind of control.
Can you use the cyclone on the Big Daddy?
Yeah, you've done it before.
Hey, Big Daddy. Damn it, these assholes followed me. Freeze,
Yeah.
motherfucker!
Why, you just think you're just gonna leave you alone? Well, that's your rent. Why are you aggroing the Big Daddy when you have a splicer on you?
Because I want to be naked.
I'm just gonna sit here till I die. Oh god.
Shit.
I'm not sure what your plan there was, hon. But then again, I don't expect you to have a plan.
I rarely have a plan. When I have a plan, it works out great. Half the time, I don't have a plan.
No, I feel like you're just throwing yourself at the game. That's what you've been doing all night for the past, like, 7 episodes.
Sorry.
It's just like, yeah, whatever, we're playing BioShock! Boop da boop boop boop! Let's die again! That's what tonight has felt like to me.
What's the point of even trying if there's no penalties to die in?
See, this is why games need a penalty for death. Because otherwise you'll get players like Rosie who would just throw themselves at the game until they inevitably win. And it is really, really annoying as a watcher to witness this. I'm just sitting here going, well, she died again. She's not learning how to use her weapons more effectively. She's not learning how to use her plasmas more effectively.
It's just like life, almost.
She's just throwing herself
It's
at
like
the
raising
enemy.
children.
He almost killed it that time. That was a better plan of action.
It's like raising children. If you don't have penalties,
you don't have consequences.
Consequences for bad actions, they're gonna turn out into stupid little turds like me.
So my most frustrating students that I've had as a teacher are the ones where the parents never blame them for anything.
Oh yeah,
like, one of the worst behaved kids.
No wrong
one
bullshit.
of the worst behaved kids I ever had. Like from what I understand, it was all around the school. It wasn't just exclusively me. Like his dad would just come in and be like, well, I think the teachers are biased towards him, and he would never get in trouble with his dad.
And see, that's how you raise assholes, mind you, because then they like are self-entitled little bitches their entire life because they never actually realize that some of their actions could be wrong and hurtful.
And
be a problem to society, and then they become ineffective members in society.
It's tough because I feel like I can't do much because I'm not a homeroom teacher, right? I work at elementary level, but I'm a music teacher. So I don't get a lot of one-on-one time with the kids. I see them like twice a week for 30 minutes. So it's hard for I can't really, be like, hey, meet me at your recess and we're gonna have a talk about your behavior in this class and what we can do better. I can't do that because while he's having recess, I'm having a different class. So I just a lot of times I just wind up kicking him out, which sucks. I hate kicking kids out of class because then I can't teach them. I feel like I can't do my job. And I get annoyed. I'm like, I want to teach you music, but I can't because I can't have you in class.
It's not your job to be the parent.
Yeah.
It's the parent's job to be the parent. And if they have a shitty kid, that's the consequence they have to deal with when they're old and have to rely on their child to take care of them. Because if their kid doesn't give a fuck about other people, well, they're not going to give a fuck about you.
Oh, here he is. Finish him off.
That's how you get...
Oh my god, that was a great finisher. He just saying, don't worry, little sister, no matter what comes, I will always protect you.
I mean, that's just what happens when you, you don't raise your kids right. They don't take care of you when you're old and feeble, and might, in the worst case scenario, might end up killing you either accidentally or purposefully. Because I think of things in the most extreme way.
You do. I was like, I have no personal experience with that, so, but I don't know.
But I don't know.
Now,
I've seen
can you pause
examples
for a
of-
second? I think
okay.
you've gotten both the big daddies in this
Yeah.
area. Okay, cool. So there's still the one in the old place, but cool.
Well, yeah, being primarily like, well, having my grandma be a huge influence in my life growing up, I was around a lot of her friends and siblings, and I saw how that happened. I
Oh, is
saw
that
what
right?
happens when, like, you know, a person's child doesn't give enough of a fuck about them to take care of them. They either end up in an old folks' home or, like, have a miserable, lonely as fuck life. So, I mean, you gotta be careful how you raise your kids. If you don't raise them right, they're gonna turn out like little shits.
Actually, that reminds me.
Or they're gonna hate you forever.
That reminds me of another thing. I have, I have a lot of older friends. Just because because I did a lot of theater growing up, so they were adults when I was a kid that I knew, and so they're older men. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there was one that I'm friends with on Facebook. She's an older lady that I've done a lot of shows with and stuff. And I remember she put this big post on Facebook, like a meme and stuff, about like how self-entitled and selfish and stuff that millennials are, because her kids are about that age and are that way. And like a bunch of friends her age responded to her. It's like, nope, that's just your kids. I'm sorry they didn't turn out right.
But that's because you...
Yeah, they pretty much blamed her for it.
Well, you raise people to be self-entitled little shits. That's a learned behavior. I'm sorry, but like... You learn that by not having consequences in your life. You learn that by your parents letting you get away with every fucking thing ever. Because, you and I aren't in self-entitled little bitch asses like millennials are.
See, I didn't post on her thing, but I was like, gee, thanks for lumping me in.
Exactly.
That's my favorite thing.
Exactly.
Let's forbid we take any self-responsibility
for the way your kids
for
turned
individuals.
out.
No, let's just blame an entire group of people, right? That always turns out great.
You shouldn't ever blame a generation of people simply because of how they turn out. I mean, especially if you're looking at young people are just shits in general, especially if you don't raise them right. That's just how it works.
Wait, did you just say not to generalize a generation and say that all young people were shits?
I'm not generalizing a generation. It's just every generation, the young people...
In every generation, the young people are rebellious shits.
Yeah, they're going to be shits. That's how they learn.
That's just going to happen.
They test their boundaries. That's how people learn. And if you aren't there to guide them through that boundary testing
then they'll
phase,
stay that.
Then they're going to stay little bitches. I'm sorry,
you can't just say, oh, it's a phase, and as they grow up, they'll get out of it. It's like, well, they won't if they never learn to get out of it.
Exactly. If they don't realize like what they're doing is wrong, or the consequences of like what they're doing.
If you never tell somebody or act upon it, you ever say this is wrong, how are they going to know?
Exactly, and don't give them consequences for what they've done that was wrong.
What happens, man, is you keep getting sidetracked by these villains who like push you back to old areas, and then he fully healed while you were doing that.
No.
But at least you've gotten bonus damage. They keep bringing you back to these older areas where there are more spawning enemies, and so you're like not making progress.
I hate this. This is stupid. I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. Every generation is gonna have a large group of its people at the young generation that are just going to struggle, and they're going to have to learn things the hard way. And you can't just generalize a whole generation because they're going through that phase. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of like baby boomers that were little bitches when they were like growing up, but they had to grow out of it because of events that happened. But that's just how it is. You can't just generalize a generation. Because there's plenty of millennials that actually do amazing shit out there and actually have their shit together. You and I are two of those millennials,
I'd like to think so.
I think I have my shit together, to be honest.
I mean,
I'm not
a mooch. I'm living on my own in an apartment that we pay for every month with a job that I got from going to college.
Exactly. And the moment I was officially on my own, moved out of college, I got off my parents' insurance even though I was 20.
Yeah.
I was 20 when I got my parents' insurance because I could support myself and take care of myself at that point.
I mean, we started at that point immediately paying your mom back for student loan based.
Exactly. So yeah, we're not mooches. We take care of ourselves, and yet we're still generalized like every other goddamn millennial, which is bullshit.
Yeah, but.
And you know, like a lot of my friends take care of themselves and are act like grown ass adults and don't mooch off their families. Lots of our friends do that at our age. And honestly, you know,
Where are you supposed to go?
I don't know. And at my workplace,
I think you're supposed to go.
some of the few people that I'm going the wrong way.
I kept trying to subtly bring it up so I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, but some of the few people that actually stayed overtime to deal with our system conversion were all millennials with young fucking children that they had to bring in. You know, so you can't just...
Right, weren't you saying it's like none of the people who have been there for a really long time that are older?
Well, not that. Just more of the older people. People over the age of, like, 30 besides, you know, our publisher and my boss. Those were the only two people that were outside the millennial generation that stayed after work just to deal with this shit. But no, all...
Get out of the way, get out of the way!
Oh, shit, damn it. All of the, like, you know, millennials that were... Well, not all of the millennials, but the millennials in my department actually, like, did shit, you know? Like, we actually stayed and took the overtime to deal with our bullshit that needed to get done. Because we had to. We didn't have any other choice, and we weren't gonna just, like, blow it off like how you expect us to blow it off, you know? Which kind of says something, because those other people could have stayed too.
They didn't.
But no, they didn't. They didn't take the overtime. They didn't, you know, do that stuff. And I don't mean just like 30 minutes or an hour overtime. We stayed there for more than 3 hours of overtime.
Oh yeah, there was this...
Because we had to get shit done.
Which I think I mentioned, that you on Fridays you're supposed to get up at 6:30, and there was one Friday you were there till 10:15.
Mm-hmm. And there were other people that stayed until 10 too.
You keep immediately walking into the same security thing!
I need to, like, shoot that thing down. You know what? Where is it?
If you're gonna die anyway, you might as well die killing that thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
There, now it's not gonna be a problem anymore.
Man, that was such a pain in the ass.
Well, I'm just watching you over. That was your third time in a row walking right up to its line of sight.
I just dying. Sorry, I get really aggravated.
Yeah, no, I realized you're like on this tangent right now, and you can't focus on the game at all.
Well, I get really angry when people like, because I've had this happen my entire life.
Well, and we've talked about this. We've done this topic several times on the channel before. But yes.
Anyways, that was on the ceiling. Anyways, so. Yeah, and like I get really pissed off if people like discredit old people because they're
Other
old.
way.
You know, like thinking that an old
yes,
person
same
can't do something.
same thing other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. That shit pisses me off too. Like, have you seen the old women that actually do fucking bodybuilding as their retirement hobby? There have been women that started bodybuilding at the age of 60, and by the time they were 80, they were amazing. They were strong. They were awesome. They defied every, you know, age thing ever. And
I have too many examples of like badass old people in my life to even think about, you know, them being feeble or incompetent.
And this is true across every like generation. There was always one or two like elderly people that are fantastic. And there's also, you know, people in their 40s that are fantastic, and children that are freaking amazing and do beautiful, cool stuff.
All right, so we've talked about topics like this all over the channel, but it's one of those things I just always come back to. You know, you look at somebody as an individual,
exactly,
and not as whatever, you know,
whatever their demographic
whatever
is.
Their demographic
basically,
is.
Don't judge a person by their demographic or how they look.
But their actions and their beliefs.
Because you'd be like freaking amazed by like the way people surprise you, both in good and bad ways, but still, like, don't assume. Just don't assume. It just makes you look like a bitch.
Did you use a health pack and the medical station?
No, I just used the medical station.
Okay, I thought you had 4 health packs. I couldn't remember. Okay, it's the steel tip bolts you want one at a time. They're really powerful.
Okay, anyways, just, yeah. Whatevs.
I always forget how much of a touchy subject it is for you.
It just makes me angry. But that's just... Oh, hi, turret.
That's a rocket
just,
turret, too.
Yeah, that's just because, like, I've been always discredited for my age my entire life, because I never acted my age, and I always tried to do things that, you know, wasn't common for my age, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.